Hello and welcome to Standard Voice Television Global News today, 26 May 2026. Equivalent Islamic calendar, 9th day of Zulhijjah, 1447 after Hijrah. I am Hamida Muhammad Idris. In headlines, President Tinubu assures Nigerians of irreversible path of economic expansion in 2027. The government declares Wednesday and Thursday public holidays for Eid al-Kabir festivity. Operatives of civilian joint task force kill bandit leaders loyalists in fight in Zamfara State. On the international scene, health organization raises alert over high-risk Ebola as 3 million die globally. And on sports update, Super Eagles train ahead Unity Cup semi-final clash with Zimbabwe. There's some more news to be coming to you in the bulletin. Thank you for joining, and now the news in details. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu reassured that Nigeria will overcome its security challenge facing and place it on the irreversible path of economic expansion. He made the declaration in Abuja after he was presented with certificate of return as the ruling party presidential candidate, having defeated his only rival for the ticket, Stanley Osifo. Tinubu polled over 10 billion votes while Stanley Osifo got 16,503 in the direct primary process, which was conducted in 36 states of the Federation, including the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, 774 local government areas and across 8,809 wards. The president therefore pledged that he would not abandon his constitutional responsibility to safeguard lives and property of Nigerians, and also roll out his achievement in the last 3 years, vote to do more to secure a prosperous nation that all Nigerians longed for. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has criticized President Bola Ahmed Tinubu over worsening hunger and economic hardship in Nigeria. Atiku cited the recent warning by the United Nations UN that about 35 million Nigerians could face acute hunger between June and August 2026, reflected what he described as the failure of the current administration. Senior Special Assistant to Atiku on Public Communication, Frank Shaibu, in his statement in Abuja, said the former vice president lamented that the situation had moved beyond economic hardship to humanitarian crisis. According to the former People's Democratic Party, PDP, presidential candidate, millions of Nigerians are struggling with rising food prices, worsening inflation, and declining purchasing power. Atiku also blamed the hardship on poor economic policies, including the removal of the fuel subsidy and the handling of foreign exchange reforms. Other factors include insecurity in farming communities across states as Benue, Plateau, Kaduna, Zamfara, Niger, Katsina, Sokoto, and Borno states. On 2027 general elections, Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has approached the Court of Appeal to set aside the ruling that annulled the timeliness it issued for the 2027 general elections. In the notice of appeal dated May 25, with INEC filed through its team of lawyers led by Alex Zinyo, the Commission line grounds it owed the appellate court to consider and vacate the judgment in Abuja High Court delivered on May 20. INEC also applied for the stay of execution of the judgment pending the determination of its appeal. The electoral umpire, aside from its contention that the High Court had a law when it failed to determine a jurisdictional issue, it raised, insisted that the legal action the Youth Party (YP) initiated against it was not only hypothetical but academic. The Commission also urged that failure of the trial court to make pronouncements on the issues resulted in the denial of fair hearing to the appellant. INEC contended that the verdict of the trial court was against the weight of evidence that was placed before it by the parties. On Eid al-Adha festival, federal government has declared Wednesday, May 27 and Thursday, May 28, 2026 as public holidays to mark the Eid al-Kabir celebration. Minister of Interior Olubunmi Tunji Ojo announced this in a statement issued by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Madagalin Adani. The statement also explained that the declaration reflects the federal government's respect for the faith and spiritual heritage of millions of Nigerian Muslims observing the festival alongside the global Islamic community. Tunji also facilitated with Muslim Ummah Nigeria, the diaspora, on the occasion, describing Eid al-Adha as a festival of deep spiritual significance rooted in sacrifice, obedience to God, and compassion for humanity. The minister, however, advised Nigerians to use the holiday period for prayers and reflection for the peace, security, and prosperity of Nigeria. He also called on citizens to embrace the spirits of brotherhood, unity, and peaceful coexistence during the celebration and wished Muslims across the country a peaceful and joyous Eid al-Adha celebration. National Broadcasting Commission (NBC) has set the 1st December 2028 for the final digital switch over DSO across. Director General of the agency, Charles Ebobi, who disclosed this while briefing journalists, explained that the new approach involves the Nigerian Communication Satellite Limited, NICOMSAT. He also added that the Commission is to also convene a stakeholder meeting within 30 days of the June 17 launch to finalize the implementation. Ebebu said this approach is in line with the 2029-12 white paper, which expressly adopts convergence as a policy principle and recommends DVB-T for terrestrial television, while also recognizing DVB-S and the transition to DVB-S2 for satellite broadcasting. The NBC boss, while citing the United Kingdom and other countries that combine terrestrial and satellite delivery, emphasized that no serious digital transition in the large and complex country has relied on a single delivery mode alone. It will be recalled that in June 17, 2026 was announced for the national launch of the country's switch over tagged the Big Picture approach. The news is coming to you on Standard Voice Television. Still to come in the news. Operatives of Civilian Joint Task Force killed bandit leaders loyalists in fight in Zamfara. On the international scene, health organization raises alerts over high rates of Ebola as 3 million die globally. On sport update, Super Eagles trainer head Unity Cup semi-final clash with Zimbabwe. These some more news will be coming to you after a short break. Thank you for coming back from that short break, and now the news continues. Nigeria has deployed troops to the Republic of Benin in April 2026 in proactive move aimed at supporting democratic stability and preventing any breakdown of law and order during the country's electioneering period. Acting Director of Army Public Relations Colonel Apollonia Anili in a statement said the deployment was carried out in the order of President and Commander-in-Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The statement also explained that the troops were not assigned election duties but were strategically positioned to provide a stabilizing presence before, during, and after the electoral process. Anele added that the deployment was also aimed at deterring potential security threats, reinforcing public confidence, and supporting a peaceful democratic transition in line with Nigeria's commitment to regional peace and cooperation. She said operating under Operation Atilihin Alafia 2, the troops conducted patrols, monitored key locations, and maintained a visible security presence across parts of the Cotonou metropolis and surrounding areas. So on insecurity, operatives of the Civilian Joint Task Force CJTF have killed scores of bandits during a security operation in Keita community, Safe local government area of Zamfara State. Security analyst Bakatini, who disclosed this on a post share on X handle, added that the bandits were linked to terror activities around the community, including attacks on residents, looting of property, and destruction of farmlands. The operatives reportedly targeted the groups during a clearance operation, leading to the killing of many fighters loyal to commanders identified as Kachalla, Julie, Uti, and Ibrahim. In a similar situation, two notorious bandit leaders have reportedly been killed after a clash among armed groups in Sarika village, Musa local government area of Katsina State. According to the post, the clash broke out between rival bandit factions, leading to the deaths of two identified gang leaders, Katalla Liti and Katalla Sani. National Orientation Agency (NOA) is intensifying public sensitization campaigns on fraud mitigation across the state. Director of the agency in Jigawa State, Tijani Ahmad Ibrahim, while addressing journalists on the public enlightenment campaign, noted that one of the core mandates of the agency is to sensitize citizens on government policies, programs, and activities aimed at improving the well-being of the people. He also explained that the agency's current campaign is focused on fraud mitigation and emergency preparedness ahead of the rainy season, warning that flooding remains a recurring disaster worsened by climate change and human activities. According to Ibrahim, the 2026 annual flood outlook released by the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, and the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency identified about 33 states and over 14,000 communities, including Jigawa State, as vulnerable to flooding due to expected heavy rainfall. The director also attributed the persistent flooding in many communities to poor drainage systems, indiscriminate dumping of refuse in waterways, illegal construction on floodplains, and excessive deforestation, while he said continue to expose lives and property to destruction. Moving to the foreign scene, World Health Organization WHO raised fresh alarm over the fast-spreading Bundibugyo Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Uganda, warning that the epidemic is outpacing response efforts and could worsen in the coming weeks. WHO Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus at a virtual ministerial briefing convened by the African Centers for Disease Control and Prevention described the outbreak as extremely serious and difficult, revealing that over 900 cases and 220 suspected deaths have already been recorded in Congo. He also disclosed that the global health body had upgraded the national risk assessment in Congo from high to very high, while maintaining regional risks at high. Ghebreyesus cautioned that countries bordering are particularly vulnerable and must take immediate preventive action. The Director General further explained that in Uganda there are 5 confirmed cases and 1 death, and applauded President Yoweri Museveni for cancelling this year's Martyrs' Day celebrations, an annual religious event that attracts nearly 2 million people. Finally, to the sports and scene, about 20 Super Eagles players trained at the Charlton Athletic Stadium in their preparations for the Unity Cup semi-final clash with Zimbabwe. Former Golden Eagles captain Samson Tijani arrived camp in time for their training session, while Captain Wilfred Ndidi, Moses Simon, and Echo Adams Emmanuel Fernandez, Rafael Oyedika are still being awaited in London. Super Eagles coach Eric Taylor is also expected to line up a largely experimental side against the Warriors following the unavailability of his top stars. It was also gathered that Femi Aziz, Owen Oseni, and Rafiu Jesoni Mi are expected to make their debut for the 3-time African champions against Kaitano Tembo's side. Nigeria-Zimbabwe match will kick off at 7:30 p.m. Nigeria time, and the winners will come up against either Jamaica or India in the final on Saturday. Finally, underneath the top stories again. President Tinubu assures Nigerians of irreversible path of economic expansion in 2027. The government declares Wednesday and Thursday public holidays for Eid al-Kabir festivity. Operatives of civilian joint task force kill bandit leaders loyalists in fight in Zamfara State. On the international scene, health organization raises alert over high-risk Ebola as 3 million die globally. And on sports update, Super Eagles train ahead Unity Cup semi-final clash with Zimbabwe. That's Standard Voice Global Television News for today. On behalf of the production crew, led by Elia Adam Auta, I am Hamida Muhammad Idris. Thank you for investing your time and staying with the news. Good afternoon.